was beautiful. Thank you. I share a reading today called Remembering the Future by Julian Jamaica Soto. Can we develop the skill of remembering the future? Can we commit to building the community that will extend into a time that we know about only by memory because it will outlast us? Memorize the compass points of the day yet to come. The truth, the love, the fire, the endless yes of the horizon. Shake the scales from your imagination. Reach, stretch, rise. There is no more time for pretending that everything can be all right without your care, without your attention. You can mourn, grieve. You can mourn, grief being more real at times than the promise of the sunrise. More real than the piece of the moon that by inconsistent silver turns disappears. And yet, while we may mourn changes, losses, deceptions, and betrayals, beneath the ash, we find the ember. We weep, and then, as we have learned from the labor movements, we organize. Remember the day toward which we gather, the tomorrow toward which we advance. It is with your actions today that you engage that muscle memory, that sense of smell, the ragged velvet feeling of a day that you have never lived. It is also your day. Remember it well. So ends the reading. You took away my clicker. Thanks. Change is coming. What do we need to imagine? This is a question I keep holding on to, and I appreciate it, as a reminder that even though I am scared, I always have the option of bringing my attention back to my hope for how the world could be. Even on the days when I can't believe in it, I can bring my attention there. When the news gets to be too much, and I can't remember the last time it wasn't, even just the reminder that imagination is an option, I need that. There are a lot of different ways that we can spark our imagination of a beautiful future. Here's one story that I'll share to start with. I'm sitting under a big open tent in the woods with more than 100 people on a sweltering July day being ruthlessly bitten by mosquitoes, and I am in paradise. This was last summer recently, when I attended a 4-day Jewish communal singing retreat called Let My People Sing, which I think is one of the best names for a singing retreat like they could have come up with. That's where I learned our opening song, Change is Coming. And every time I go to this retreat, it becomes more and more transformative. This temporary community is committed to building a multiracial, multicultural, and genderful identity and community. There were elders and babies, people with a wide range of Jewish observance. You knew that when you sat down anywhere, the person sitting next to you likely practiced Judaism differently from you or not at all, and that was expected and honored. We encouraged one another, we rooted for those nervous newbies who were leading their first song, and joined in with such full voices for song and prayer. And for me, what made me just about, I think, cry every day was that it was the most welcoming, inclusive, accessible, and disability justice-centered event that I ever go to. That's a different sermon I could talk about for a very long time. Happy to come back. So on a Friday afternoon, as the community got ready for Shabbat, one of the retreat leaders said, "The rabbis teach that the sweetness of Shabbat is a taste of Olam Haba, the world to come." Now, traditionally, this refers to a messianic age. The community organizers among us might know it as the world as it could be. But this, she said, this right here, this is a taste of the world to come. These whole 4 days, this community, savor it. Likewise, one participant in our closing circle, as we were getting ready to leave, said, "I actually think this right here, this is the real world. Everything out there, that's the matrix." Both of those comments have really stuck with me, and as has this lived, embodied feeling of experiencing a kind of world that I would love to see, and it leaves me wanting more. As the artivist showed us, there is so much we might call wrong with the world, and different people will have different thoughts on that. I see a lot of harm and injustice and inequity I want to fight against. But boy, I know I just can't sustain myself on fighting against things. I need to fight for the world I imagine, and it's the only thing that really gives me energy to keep going. Does this resonate with any of you? I'm seeing nods. Yeah. We sang it earlier. Change is coming. What do we need to imagine? What helps you imagine the world as it could be? There's a particular genre of fiction that has been really speaking to me, and it doesn't just dwell on destroyed worlds or a suffering society. These stories imagine how humans might not just survive perilous times, but thrive. I think of Emily St. John Mandel's novel, Station 11, where in a post-apocalyptic world, our protagonists are a traveling symphony that performs orchestral music and Shakespeare plays. And in the wake of a global tragedy, when scrappy survivors just try to eke out a living, this group reminds them what they are living for. And their motto is, "Because survival is insufficient." Every couple of years, when I need a boost, I reread The Fifth Sacred Thing by Starhawk. Came out in the 90s. Big book, it'll keep you busy for a while. In this story, after a global societal collapse, one community remakes their world into a kind of hippie ecotopia in the San Francisco area, because let's face it, where else are you going to create a hippie ecotopia but the Bay Area? The streets have been ripped up and turned to gardens. Food and clean water is available to everyone. No one lacks for medical care. And the city's defense council consists of 9 elderly women whose job is to listen and dream. When a fundamentalist totalitarian force tries to invade and steal their resources, its residents refuse to use violence and refuse to give up their vision of a just and cooperative world. Instead, in the face of these armed, dangerous soldiers, they each say, "There is a place set for you at our table if you would join us." I thought of that scene when I first saw footage of some of the protesters in Minnesota in January. A lot of it, maybe you've seen this one or something like it. 2,000 people out in the freezing cold outside a hotel that was known to be housing ICE agents. And they sang this song by Annie Schlafer. It goes, "Oh, it's okay to change your mind. Show us your courage. Leave this behind. It's okay okay to change your mind, and you can join us here anytime. Songs like that give me just so much hope, even in the middle of scrolling through TikTok. And not long after, I saw a video of something like 15,000 people singing it together in a packed stadium, I think being led by Brandi Carlile, possibly, before bringing it out onto the streets. Yeah, okay, others are nodding. Great, you saw the same video. I actually thought of this as we were opening and talking about Mother's Day. I had grown up thinking that Mother's Day was kind of a Hallmark holiday, one of those ones that didn't have a real basis. And maybe you all knew this, but it actually is a much more radical history. I can't tell you all of it, but I know that in the back of the gray hymnal is the Mother's Day Proclamation by Julia Ward Howe, and it is a cry for mothers and women of her time to rise up and say, we will no longer send our sons and our husbands to war. We, women of one country, will be too tender of those of another country to allow our sons to be trained to injure theirs. From the bosom of the devastated earth, a voice goes up with our own, and it says, disarm, disarm. I recommend reading it, maybe after. And in religious terms, these reminders of what could be possible, it's the work of prophets, whether modern day or ancient and scriptural. In Christianity, for example, the kingdom of God or the kingdom of heaven has evoked a vision of a peaceful, loving world that we might strive for, in a way trying to create a heaven on earth. Prophets have cried out wake-up calls, warning people of all the horrible things that will happen if they don't change their destructive ways. They get really creative, recommend reading it. But sometimes they also manage to call out what could be possible and how beautiful the world could be. Famously, there's Isaiah, who's considered to be a prophet in Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, who describes a future where swords will be turned into plowshares and spears into pruning hooks, where nations will not study war anymore. This is a kind of radical imagination. I love this term. In their book called Radical Imagination, Alex Kusnabish and Max Haven describe the concept in a way that really resonates with me. In this time, whether we're thinking globally or in our country or in our own lives, they say, radical imagination is the ability to imagine the world, life, and social institutions not as they are built, or not as they are, but as they might otherwise be. It is the courage and the intelligence to recognize that the world can and should be changed. The radical imagination is not just about dreaming of different futures. It's about bringing those possibilities back from the future to work on here in the present, to inspire action and new forms of solidarity today. So the genres of science fiction and speculative fiction and prophecy are all ways to practice the future together. Whenever we try and envision a world without war, without violence, a cooperative world, we are engaging in speculative fiction. And I think this is one of the things that our spiritual communities can do best. Give us a chance to practice living into the world that we want to see, to practice justice together, practice living into new stories so that we can bring it out into the world. It is our right and it is our responsibility to keep creating that new world. Now, in my family of origin, the way we practiced this kind of envisioning new worlds was through the television series Star Trek. Now, I will say I literally only exist because of Star Trek. My parents met through the fan community and conventions in New York in the 70s. They both wrote fan fiction about Star Trek characters. Like, it goes deep. Our family has been fully immersed in this world, its quotes, its characters, its jokes, and its ideas of a better future. So here's one small example. I'd say my career path has been maybe a spiral, winding. I started studying out to be a rabbi in 2010, which was also the first year I began attending UU services and feeling inspired by this kind of example of pluralistic religious communities. So when I, as a beginning rabbinical student, started attending UU services at Arlington Street in Boston, my Jewish mother, happy Mother's Day, had an understandably tough time wrapping her head around this. And I'm coming to understand this is a common thing that's hard for mainstream Judaism to get. I'd call her on Sunday afternoons and say I was driving home from church to hear, "You're driving home from where? You're going to a church?" And no matter how I tried to say, well, okay, it's not the kind of church you're thinking of, there's not one creed, everybody has lots, none of it did anything really to calm her fears of what it means to be going to church. It's understandable. She finally came to a service with me on a Sunday where she was in town to see me sing with the choir there. I didn't really make eye contact with her during the service from the choir, but I went up to her after the service and asked with some trepidation, "What'd you think?" And she smiled at me with this look of relief on her face. And she said, "It's Iddick. I get it now." Oh, that's the moment that really exposes the deep Star Trek fans, and it was quiet. Okay, so I'll explain. Iddick, IDIC, stands for Infinite Diversity in Infinite Combinations. Isn't that great? So it's a Star Trek thing. It's the basis of Vulcan philosophy, infinite diversity and infinite combinations. And it's a concept that has been an important theme in my mother's own writing. You can actually get really cool stickers and t-shirts online that have the logo for this, but in like trans colors and rainbow colors. It's a powerful symbol and a powerful thought. And in attending her first UU service, my mother saw a real-life human community living out these Vulcan values, celebrating the differences between us, being open to learning from all of the many truths in the universe. She saw folks from a wide array of cultural backgrounds on their searches for truth and meaning. After that day, I got no more grief for going to UU churches. She likes to come with me. She's also glad I'm back in rabbinical school. So all of this, it's not an accident or an unintended side effect of Star Trek. It is a work of radical imagination, a way of exploring ideas that can liberate all of us. The late Gene Roddenberry, creator and producer of Star Trek, wanted to show us the world as it could be. In the turbulent times of the late 60s, Roddenberry showed us a possibility for a future where we've moved past war and greed, where neighbors are united in a federation of planets, where different races and species serve together as a crew, as family. And Roddenberry once described it this way: Star Trek was an attempt to say that humanity will reach maturity and wisdom on the day that it begins not just to tolerate, but to take a special delight in differences in ideas and differences in life forms. If humanity is to survive, we will learn that differences in ideas and attitudes are a delight, part of life's exciting variety and not something to fear. That sounds to me like what we hope for in our spiritual communities. So, my friends, the hurting world and the impending future need us to awaken our imaginations. Because radical imagination isn't just about dreaming of different futures or remembering some idyllic moment in the past. It's about bringing those possibilities back here to work on in the present. So will you join me for a moment in imagining? I want to give us just a few moments together to see if we can conjure up our own taste of Olam Haba, of the world to come. So just for a few moments, if you're comfortable, you can close your eyes or soften your gaze. Have you ever had a taste of the world to come? Some moment of sweetness, of community, of justice? A time when you thought, I want more of this. Will you call it to mind now? And if you can't think of one from your own life, is there something you can picture from an inspiring work of art or fiction or sacred text? A world that you would love to see embodied right here. What would it look like to put just a dollop of that sweetness into your life right now? What could we create? What would it feel like? Can you take it even bigger, expand that circle even wider? What would that sweetness look like in your city, across the land? Could it even spread itself around the world? Because it starts with just little tastes. And before we close out this time of reflection, just one more question. What is one small, sweet step that you could take to bring a little taste of the world to come into this day, into this week? Because from that, we can always keep it growing. If you're ready, you can open your eyes or raise your gaze or turn your attention back to this room. My new friends, change is coming and keeps coming. And I believe in the beauty and power and courage of our imaginations to keep creating a more beautiful world. Keep living into your vision, share it with your loved ones and your communities. Let's build it together. So may it be. In that spirit, I'd love to join our voices together in our closing hymn. If you want the sheet music, it's 10:18 in the teal hymnals, but I believe the words will be up here. Come and go with me. I invite you to rise in body or spirit or raise your voices as we sing together.
Where I'm bound. please remain standing and join me in our chalice extinguishing words. There we go. We extinguish the flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Thank you. You may be seated. Thank you. Thank you for worshiping with us today. I invite you, after a postlude from Tom, to join us for refreshments in Parish Hall, which is the big room over that way. We'll have coffee and snacks, and it would be lovely to join with you in conversation. So thank you for gathering, and happy Sunday.